So, building and retaining an amazing team. Who has one of these? Who has a tight, amazing team? Who's built one? Who's built several? Who's only ever worked on amazing teams? Good silence. Okay, so this is a talk and a story about stories. First and foremost, though, thank you to our sponsors, without whom this talk genuinely would not have happened. It's an incredibly difficult exercise to organise an event like this, so tip to Rob and the other organisers. A thank you to the sponsors, because if they hadn't come to the party, it wouldn't be a party. So, and unlike most of my usual talks, this is not a game of spot the sponsor, because this is a non-technical talk, so by and large you won't see sponsor references in the slides, which means I don't have lollies to throw people. But that said, if you do spot the sponsor, at least it's a tip. So, stories. Why do stories matter? Why is this talk about stories? For anybody not aware, my background is consulting. I've done a lot of consulting for a lot of years. I've been there, done most of that, got a lot of the scars. And one of the things that we tend to find is that people have, well, several ways of learning, but there are two options around learning that we tend to give people. One is experience and the other one is wisdom. Experience means you make the mistake yourself and you hopefully learn from that mistake. Now, there are plenty of people who just keep making the same mistake over and over and over. But for the most part, if you touch the stove and it's hot, you learn that the stove is hot and you try to not do that again. So that's experience, and there are plenty of very experienced people in the room. I would probably call myself one of the experienced ones, which doesn't sound as awesome as I'm making out, because the flip side of that is wisdom, when you learn from other people's mistakes. That's the smart way. Experience you learn from your own. Wisdom we learn from other people's mistakes. We learn from other people's experiences, which means someone else can say, hey, you know what? I touched the stove and there was a sizzle and a smell and an ouch and there were tears and maybe you shouldn't do that. And then the wise person goes, okay, that sounds really sensible. The person who seeks purely experience goes, oh, really? Ow! Wow, that voice is really weird. I sort of like to go back. I can't do more Kimmy's boots, I'm sorry. So why do stories matter? And what does this have to do with building an amazing team? Well, humans learn by stories. From literally prehistoric times, as in times from which we do not have recorded history, we have oral history. We have people passing stories down from generation to generation to generation. Why? Because there is value in the shared experience, and because when there's a story attached to it, people tend to remember. This is why we teach our children, not just, it's good to be good, but here is a story about a good little boy or a good little girl who did a good thing and good things happened. Here's a story about a bad little boy or a bad little girl, and that didn't end well. Stories matter. Now, as far as creating an amazing team is concerned, we're going to cover three, I guess, key aspects of assembling and maintaining that team. And in each of those, I'm going to try voice painting. I'm going to try to use some stories to illustrate when that's worked, or we'll actually use some stories to explain why that's valuable. And the first part of creating an amazing team, and I'm going to assume for a minute that we're going to start from scratch. Obviously, that's not the case in the common case, but it holds. The first part of creating an amazing team is identifying people who should be on that team. You want to identify amazing people. Okay? And this is really important, because if you set your sights, if you set your bars really, really low, then you're never going to win. Okay? You always have to go looking for the best people you can possibly find. I would add to that, in the technology industry, you can seek from all four corners of the flat earth. You can search males and females, looking at the demographic of this particular audience. We're doing better than the average tech industry event seems to be doing, but there's still a huge gender imbalance here. Technology bridges divides that the physical world creates for us. You don't have to hide. If you find someone amazing, they don't have to be even on the same continent as you. They don't necessarily have to speak the same language, although it helps if you have at least a passing way of communicating with each other, but provided that enough of your teams speak common languages, you can actually get away with a whole lot of diversity, which means you have a really, really broad pool of talent from which to hire. So when we're looking for amazing people, a lot of us stop there and go, we set the hiring bar really high, therefore we will have awesome people. It's not. It's actually the easy bit. What shape's that triangle, by the way? Who can tell me what shape that triangle is? It's not a triangle. Well done. What shape is that triangle? How about that one? Seriously, what shape is this triangle? What's wrong with you people? Can't you tell a triangle when one stares you in the face? That simple test will screen out 90% of your applicants. I promise you. A very, very simple code puzzle. A few people here to which we're actually contributors. But once upon a time, when a bunch of us got fed up with having to look at awful code submissions in Word documents or whatever for people who were supposedly software engineers, and we asked them a very simple thing. Write us a piece of code that, given the length, 3 sides of the triangle, tell us what shape is it. 90% of them couldn't. 90% of them got it wrong. Great, so we should totally let those people create like air traffic control systems or medical device. Yeah, like just no. Okay. It is really, really easy to filter out the terrible people. And unfortunately, there are a lot of terrible people in our industry. Some because they don't care, more because the industry itself doesn't actually look after those people. So yes, it's very easy to mock and people go, that person doesn't know anything. If that's the case, we as an industry have failed those people. So yes, identify the great people, filter out the terrible ones, but also take some responsibility for the fact that there are actually some not particularly competent people in our industry. So when we're hiring though, I hear this a lot. I hear, well, they were the best candidate available, so we hired them. Or we needed 5 people. We interviewed 50, we took the top 5. What's wrong with that? Sometimes the length of the shortlist should be a bit shorter than you're comfortable with. Sometimes it should actually be the shape of that last round triangle. It's okay to shortlist 0 people and go again. All you should be really asking yourself at the end of the day, though, is, does this person make me think I would love to work with them? I want that person on my team. Not, oh, this person's all right, or, yeah, I guess they're pretty decent, but, or, yeah, we could live with that. No. If you want an amazing team, then that person must leave you thinking, wow, I would love to work with that person. So who here has heard, excuse me, who here has heard, but it's really hard to find such amazing people? Good people are really hard to find. No, they're not. They're not. They're just hard to persuade that they want to work with you. And you can take that line straight back to the directors of your company that you're talking with at the moment or whatever and say, look, there are great people out there, but they don't want to work with us. Maybe we should work out why. Persuading a great person that they want to work with us is actually a whole lot harder than identifying them in the first place. If you found someone amazing, so what? They have to think that you are amazing, because amazing people have a lot of options. They're very mobile. If they don't like a place, they've got umpteen other offers on the table, and the ones that aren't interesting just aren't interesting. And maybe they'll take a crap gig for a short time to feed their family or whatever. By and large, an amazing person wants to work with other amazing people. So you have to actually persuade people that they want to work with us. Tell them a story. Don't say, you will work with X technology. You'll be an expert in this, right? Because like, this year, what's the buzzword this year? It's IoT. What was IoT last year's buzzword? Microservices are like, dude, yeah, serverless now. That's a good point. This year it's serverless. 2 years ago it was like, oh, if you knew about like immutability or monads or whatever, oh man, you must be amazing. Yeah, right. No, Don't say you will be an expert in particular technology or particular design pattern, particular thing, because that's not inspiring. What we need to do is we need to tell someone, hey, look, we did this awesome thing. We built this really, really cool thing. You've used it, you've seen it, you've played with it, you loved it, you didn't know it was us. Yes, get on board. We'd love to have you. Hopefully hopefully you would love to work with us. We are going to do this awesome thing. Not once we built an awesome thing and now we just go and work for soul-destroying big company. Once we were amazing and that's all very nice, but you also have to let people have something to look forward to, something to believe in, something that they want to do, something that makes them say to themselves, man, I would love to work with those people. Okay? There are two sides to this coin. Which comes to what is your organization's mission? And I don't mean you get all of the execs in the room and you have a little session about what is our mission statement and what are our values, because for the most part, you're doing that as an exercise, as a box checking exercise. Like when you get that burning, passionate belief from people saying, we're going to colonize Mars, or we're going to, take the original Microsoft metric, a computer on every desk, right? Battle one, great. But have something that people can believe in and that will motivate them. Show of hands, who could tell me right now, organization that you currently work for or are engaged with in some manner, who could actually tell me what their mission is? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5, 6.5. Control. How many people in this room? 5, 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, about 100 people in this room. About 100 people in this room right now, and 5 of them can tell me what it is that actually gets their organization up every morning to do. Okay? Maybe we can work on that. That's still not the hardest bit. That's the second hardest bit. We can identify talent. It's cool. We can persuade that talent that, hey, we're going to do a cool thing and you should totally come work with us because reasons. And that person gets on board and they're all fired up. And this is awesome and it's going to be wonderful and we're going to have a great time. We're going to change the world. How do you keep that person from going, oh, is that what it's really like? And this is the hardest part of keeping an amazing team. We need to retain the amazing people. And for many reasons, not just that because they're hard to hire, but also because they're the ones who are then going to grow other people into amazing people. Now, it's easy if you're a Premier League football club or whatever, and you've got the cash of, I don't know, what's a big sports ball club? Does anyone know sports ball? Anyway, all right, Man United, fine. All right, so presumably they've got unlimited dollars or pounds, or actually pounds probably aren't doing all that well right now, but nonetheless, unlimited budget to sign the superstar, and they can basically say, okay, we want to play for this position, play for that position, play for that position, and we will pay top dollar for every single position on the market. Now, most of our organizations can't do that. They're not in a position to do that, and it's arguably not sensible to do that because that's not necessarily sustainable either. What we need to be doing is investing in the people who are very, very good and who show the promise of being amazing, and for their level of experience and duration in the industry are amazing, but who you wouldn't necessarily trust to build your high-frequency trading platform from scratch first time around. You can have amazing grads, and that's wonderful, but you still treat them as a responsible, clever grad, but as a grad, which means you need to look after them, you need to nurture them, you need to guide them and mentor them. So the first part, though, is, isn't it nice when you wake up in the morning and you feel happy? Wow. Every single person in this room does not give a stuff about waking up feeling happy. Okay.
Might be a Perth thing, Andrew.
Might be a Perth thing. I spent some out-of-towners, though, and they're just as miserable as you.
They're from Melbourne.
Okay, yeah, that makes it. No, seriously, who's actually given this some thought? Who actually has thought about, I want to be happy? Good. I walk into so many organizations to do like agile training or whatever, and I ask that question, and they look at me like I've just started a second head. And I'm like, you're here to teach us Scrum. What's the, trust me, Just for a minute, just trust me for a minute. Who's happy? And they look around like, is this a trick question? Am I going to get fired if I say I don't feel happy? Okay, so who would like to feel happy? And of course, given the demographic makeup of our industry, 90% of the people in the room go, I'm a straight white male. We don't talk about happiness. There are so many reasons we need to fix the diversity of our industry. But for the most part, we don't even allow people to set that as a goal. And once you ask people, well, okay, I'm going to assume that not everybody in the room is wonderfully, obviously happy right now. What might that be? Within a work context, what is making us unhappy? And that's usually what leads us down the path of discussing things like, well, my client is unhappy because reason, and my boss and my PO or whatever is cranky because blah, and I don't like this person on my team, and they don't like me, and blah, 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 blah. And then you can get to the point of actually starting to address some of these issues. Unhappy people go away. Happy people stick around. Be nice to people. Care about making them happy. Care about allowing themselves to pursue their own happiness. That in and of itself will make a huge difference to your retention. It's only step one. But if we do nothing but that, it will make a huge difference to the number of great people who stick around in our organization. Trust your people. We hired you because you are awesome. Why are you standing around doing nothing? Who's not seen this? Who cannot tell me the comic number of the XKCD? It's 303. Compiling. All right. Trust your people. If they're doing something that doesn't involve sitting at their desk going typey, don't assume that they're not working. For the most part, people in this room get paid to think and solve problems in creative ways, and then the typey is just the incidental after the fact of actually having solved that problem. Now, corollary to that, you have to be good at typing. You should probably learn your tools. And if you haven't seen the IOC video from a few years back where we did a spot for a sharper quiz, you should probably go and see that. But having mastered your tools, the expectation should be that you've also mastered your craft to the point at which you can be trusted to do the right thing. If a person cannot be trusted to do the right thing, what do? Do we revoke everyone's privileges? Collective punishment. Surely that works, right? We've only had several hundred years of, never mind. Demonstrate your trust in people. When you do that, they will surprise you. Apologies, this font's actually a little bit small. I'll shift so that you can see the first panel of the comic. Amazing people will surprise you. If you have people who believe in your mission, who share that mission and those ideals with you, and they will move heaven and earth to get the job done. You want these people and you want to inspire these people. You have to go the extra mile. If you want to trust people and you want them to repay that trust, you have to then go that one step further than everyone else does. Now, I actually searched for the quote, they are my people, I am their leader, I must follow them. So, I am their leader, I must follow them, has been attributed to Gandhi, has been attributed to Abe Lincoln, who was clearly around long enough to tweet that. I actually don't know who originally said it or penned it or whatever, so I just took a screen cap of Google image search. Every single one of those images basically says, I am their leader, I must follow them. But there's a little bit of truth hidden in that. If, as someone's leader, as a team's leader, as an organization's leader, you are seen to not care as much about their mission as everyone else in the organization, or you've got a different mission, then people are going to stop believing in you and they'll stop following you. Anything that you ask your people to do, you must be willing to do and do for longer or in more arduous conditions than they are. You must go that one step further. It's really, really important because people notice. People notice, right? That sysadmin who's just gone and, excuse me, that sysadmin who's just gone and reconstructed the universe and plugged everything in and survived all of these hazards and done the whole die-hard thing to keep the lights on, only to see the CEO go, hey, that's nice, but I'm off playing golf. Okay, that's not inspiring. You want to work harder than your people, and you want to have them expect that of you. Here's one for you. Fix what's broken. When you've got some great people and they're telling you that stuff is broken, maybe you should do something about it. So, story for you. A client which shall remain nameless because this is a shameful story, had an entrance stairwell to the offices, and I'm just going to wait until people figure out who this is. Had an entrance stairwell to the offices that was right next to the toilets, and that stairwell stank. It stank really badly, to the point at which that when they had corporate visitors walk into the building, and they would hurriedly usher them through the foyer because the toilets next to the hall stank so badly. And the solution, what would you do? What should we do? Fix the toilets. Fix the toilets. Either get better drainage or pay for them to get cleaned a little bit more frequently, or maybe you need like an extractor fan or 10, or I don't know, fix the toilet. What do you think they did? They got one of those stupid timed air freshener things, and they just shoved that in the stairwell. That is not fixing the problem. That is masking the symptoms. So now when people walk up the stairs, they go, oh, geez, that air freshener. Whoa, might not buy that one. Right? Which meant the people arriving at the building, and this is employees as well, they learned the wrong lesson. Right? They learned very, very much the wrong lesson. So fix the problem. And especially when you've got some great people around the place, they're quite good at diagnosing problems, because that's kind of what you hired them for. So help them out a bit. When they find you a problem and say, hey, the toilets really stink, we priced an extractor fan, we can get somebody to turn up and like install one this afternoon, and this problem goes away, and it's only going to cost us $300. Do it. Do it. Don't spend $300 per year on air fresheners and then still complain 10 years later that everyone who arrives at your premises wrinkles their nose and tries not to throw up. Don't set people up to fail. Now, if you've got great people on a great team and you set them impossible challenges, they're not going to stick around. Because great people, just like every other person, they don't like failing. They don't like repeated failing. Now, this is not the agile kind of fail where we fail fast, we fail frequently, but we fail a little bit each time and we learn each time and we get better. And for the most part, we're succeeding, but there are little niggles that each time we get better at. That's a good kind of fail. That means we're learning. Okay. Setting a team up to fail means that there is no coming back from this. The team is never going to learn the right lesson, because basically the lesson to learn is you were in the wrong place at the wrong time, don't be there. And they go, okay, cool. Well, that company was the wrong place. I'm not there. That's the lesson we teach. This was the IBM Queensland Health payroll debacle, for what it's worth. Don't set people up for failure. Don't make ridiculous agreements that people are never going to be able to honour. Don't set them up for humiliation either. Because all 56 of Australia's population will condemn you for it. Do not expose your people to ridicule, because great people do not like that. Nobody likes that. But your great people are way more mobile, so they will go away. Which means we've just done so much damage to our amazing team that we may as well just not have bothered in the first place. Look after our people. It's incredibly important. By and large, it's actually quite easy to do if you just give it some thought. Think about, well, is this going to embarrass my client, my team, my people, my company? Who is going to look bad out of this? Who's going to look good? Most of the time, win-win is actually possible. If win-win is not possible, you are doing business with the wrong people. Seek win-win. Failing that, seek neutral and mutual departure. Do not seek lose-lose. Do not seek mutually assured destruction. Hey, consulting company gets engaged to do another payroll system, and they basically tie up the contract so tight that it doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day, you know that both parties are going to be lolling lawsuits at each other. Nobody wins. So define success, shoot for it. Don't embarrass your people. This one I hear a lot, and I'm going to skip over most of this stuff because everyone's heard this a lot. And it's around not pay, not conditions. It's around insulting people. It's around pretending to believe that they don't know that you are lying to them. We can't afford to pay you more than this amount, even though you're, you hear this a lot in gender imbalance pay issues as well. Even though your male counterpart is getting 20k a year more or 50k a year more, and they keep coming to you for advice. Yeah, well, Because we hired you on a lower salary, that means that percentage-wise, to make you equal with that person, we would have to give you a percentage increase that's outside of our band. And we don't do that because we've got policy. And you know what? Who cares about the policy? It's not no one. Who cares about the policy? The rest of the market cares about the policy because the rest of the market goes, sweet, that company's got some great people who are really cranky and we can poach them. Right? That company's got a really great reputation for having really great people. We know that there is a very good concentration of good talent there and that they are cranky. Poach them. Thanks very much. Don't insult your people's intelligence. We pay at the 50th percentile, but we expect to hire the top N%. Sure, if N is 50, go for your life. If not, what you're really saying is we pay at the 50th percentile and we hire the percentile which is stupid enough to believe that we actually shouldn't pay them what they're worth, which is not your target demographic again. And the last one, which is a real killer, especially for when you're looking for diverse workplaces, and especially when you want the more experienced people, because more experienced people just tend to be older because it takes time to get scars. And older people, again, a gross generalization, but as engineers, as a general rule, we like general rules. Older people tend to be more likely to have a family, tend to have other commitments, tend to have actually figured out what makes them happy in their life, and maybe you don't fit in that life as much as a fresh out of university graduate who's willing to work 20 hours a day and burn themselves out. So the whole, how do we know that you're actually working when you're working from home thing? Again, it comes down to trust. It comes down to an insult. It's really simple. Don't insult people. If you wouldn't like it said to you, don't say it to anybody else. This bit's a little bit fraught because inevitably you will get hiring wrong. Inevitably, it will happen. How you deal with that is the most important thing. Okay. Who's not seen that stand-up routine, by the way? Here's your sign. Who has, sorry? Okay, cool. It's worth going and having a look on YouTube, seriously. But yes, so when someone says to you, here's your sign, they're not being kind. Maybe don't say that to other people, at least without having YouTube, and maybe only say it to close friends when they've done something very stupid that's about to go on YouTube. We have to deal with the non-amazing. Who's heard of the Dead Sea effect? Wow. Seriously? Who's heard? No. I thought one person was putting their hand up and no, they were just eating popcorn. One person actually has. Okay, the Dead Sea effect. Okay, so between Israel and Jordan, there is the River Jordan. It flows into the Dead Sea. Okay, fair enough. Dead Sea is effectively landlocked. So we've got a whole bunch of water flowing down the river, carrying all sorts of sediments and salt and who knows what, runoff from who knows where. And it all ends up in the Dead Sea. And the water then evaporates. And the water is your great people. If you do not take action to address the people who are not great, either by helping them ideally to become great, or encouraging them to find a position elsewhere, and supporting them through that, because word gets around. Be kind about this. Okay? But if you don't deal with that Dead Sea effect, you will create it whether you like it or not. Who's seen a colleague type google.com into the Omnibox? Those people, right? And once you show them, they go, oh, wow, cool, thank you. Or they go, yeah, but I've always done it this way. And harking back to Chris and Rob's talk from the previous session, we've always done it this way is one of the stupidest reasons ever to continue doing a thing. Right? When you get people who say to you, for instance, there was an error, and you're okay, cool, what was the error? And they say, it was red. Or, here's your sign. We have to deal with that. And that's an uncomfortable truth of maintaining and retaining an amazing team, because great people do not want to work with people who make them, remember the earlier point? Make them look stupid. If someone gets up in front of a room full of people and does a stupid thing, excuse me, and then you have to say, yeah, that's one of mine. I work with that person. Or I work with the company that messed up the census. Or they're going to go. They're going to go. And they'll go quietly. So we have to deal with the Dead Sea effect. But ideally, we are kind about this, because kindness also gets around, or the lack of kindness gets around. If you just crucify someone, it's not going to work. Sometimes it is important to crucify someone in public for for doing an egregiously wrong thing. But it has to be egregiously wrong. For the most, and we're talking, assaulting a colleague, or we're being racist in front of anyone really. For the most part, though, we care about helping people to become better. One, because that should be a good mindset, and if we share that mindset, then maybe we will be nicer people, and perhaps that will make other people want to be around us, which in turn will, snowball nicely. Just make sure that when we do this, we do it kindly, thoughtfully, compassionately. If you are the kind of horrible person who likes brutally firing people, you are exactly the kind of person who should never be permitted to fire someone. Firing someone should be a last resort, and it should be done with consideration. Every single time. If you look forward to firing someone, even if your entire company hates them, if you are looking forward to it, you should not be the ones to do it. Shall I step down off my soapbox now? Cool. But please keep that one in mind. Unless you want to be like the Donald and you idolize the Donald, don't be like the Donald. So, all up. How are we going for time, by the way? 5 minutes? Cool. All right. So, the stories. We need to invest in our people. We need to teach. We need to learn. Everyone's got some experience. Everyone's got some scars they can show you. Right? It might be that they've done a bunch of stupid things and they haven't actually learned from having done those stupid things. But let them tell you the story. Because even if they say, hey, I keep doing this thing and bad things keep happening, and even if they aren't learning from it, you and other people still can. So let them tell the story. And then maybe tell them a story in return. One of the things that I personally find really flattering is when stories that I've told get back to me. Once upon a time in a pizza shop, there was a scary pricing engine. I didn't tell you another story. There was a scary pricing engine. Nobody knew how it worked. And this particular pizza company had just lobbed a massive lawsuit at a previous development partner who had in turn lobbed one back. And basically, they were, let's say, not quite on speaking terms. And there were a bunch of people who were engaged to fix this particular problem. And one thing that they encountered was, how on earth do we figure out what a particular item costs? And that was terrifying because no one knew. They had a black box system that had ingredients and compositions going in and a number, hopefully, more frequently an exception, but at least nominally it was a number coming out, or a null. Nulls were great. And so what this particular team did was they started writing some pinning tests around it. So basically, we think we're going to try to replace it. We think we can reverse engineer some of the rules. We don't understand how we go from these ingredients and these combinations to this number, but we know that if we plug these same ingredients into our into our replacement system, we should get the same number. Okay, cool. That's called a pinning test. And the idea is that you use them to decommission a legacy system and then you kill them off. So this team spent, a few days actually writing some tests, basically saying, look, if I poke it this way, I don't quite know why, but it always gives this particularly weird answer. And they got to the point where the tests were actually starting to give them a degree of confidence. They go home over the weekend, it's all good, they've set up nightly builds, which is great. They come in on Monday, keep working. They come in on Tuesday, and all the builds are red. Why? Close, not change the month. Why?
Different prices.
Different prices on Tuesday. It's Cheapy Tuesday. Well done, sir. If I had a lolly, I would throw you. Cheapy Tuesday. Oh, yeah, except on Tuesday, we just hard trade pizza price of this. Okay. And the moral of that story, there are many morals to that story, but one of the things that I used that story to illustrate was the idea of abstracting time away. And in C# that's easy to do with something like an iClock interface. And I've actually had people come and tell me, hey, you should use an iClock, because you see, once upon a time, this thing happened with this mob selling underwear or selling, and the stories morph over time, but as they do, but the morals stay. And because people like telling stories, and because I hope that at least a handful of people in this room will now go and tell that story, that the knowledge gets passed on. Abstract time. Why? So that we can then check our time. We can lie and say, okay, it's Tuesday, what would a pizza cost? Or it's another day, it's a Saturday, or it's state of origin night, or whatever, what's the price going to be? Right? Abstracting time. It's a little lesson that you use a story to teach it rather than just use an iClock, because you're bad if you don't. Right? And which one of those is taking up more space in your mind right now? Which one of those are you more likely to remember? You're always going to remember the once upon a time in a pizza shop on Tuesday, things went back, oh, I should use a clock. This is another one. This one has actually come back to haunt me in several ways. On a project a very, very long time ago, I did a gig with a guy named Nick from Harcourt. Everyone's shouting, spot the sponsor. No, Seek, well done. Okay, so I did a gig with Nick Blumhardt, who's also the creator of AutoFac and a bunch of other cool stuff. And I put this little comment in, basically as a dig in the ribs to Nick, saying, and the Lord Nick said, let there be IOC. And there was IOC. Who doesn't know what IOC is, by the way? Okay, cool. There's a video on that. I'll link it to you after. But basically, IOC, from your composition root, the universe is created. Okay. So I put this little dig at Nick in the code base, and I've actually had people whom I've never met be taught this stuff from also people I've never met, because the story just passes on a little bit. Then there's the Clarkson factory. Now, that was a completely off-the-cuff ad-lib that I did about 5 years ago, but we're talking about factory methods and factory classes, and that's actually a talk for IOC, so I'll definitely link to that in the comments. But the Clarkson factory got spawn one, and the conference attendees basically picked up on that, and that became one of the key points of that whole talk. We needed a Clarkson factory, because normally you have like food factory create a food or whatever. But in this case, the fact that we actually had a Clarkson, and we'd already established that Clarkson was this loud, shouty personality who, at that point in time, by the way, had not punched someone in the face over steak. Egregious offense worthy of firing the law. But the fact that people then came back and told other people about this meant that they passed that knowledge on. I'd leave you with a couple of thoughts. If all is quiet, if you've got a great team of people and they're quiet, if you've got a great team of people and they're not at least grumbling a little bit on occasion, they're not at least coming to you and saying, hey, I don't really like how X works and we think we can improve. Oh, by the way, we did improve X. And you say anything other than great, thank you, well done. If you've got a team of people who suddenly go quiet or just gradually stop giving you that feedback, it's not because you've solved all the problems. When all is quiet, that does not mean that all is well. If you have an amazing team, you should expect, and if you are part of that team, then you should put that obligation on yourself to always try to make things better. Improve little by little. So if you take one thing away from this talk, one error is a comment, off by several errors, I'm going to allow myself that license. So find amazing people, but that's the easy bit. You want to persuade them that they want to work with you, which is harder than identifying them, but still relatively easy. The easy way to do that is you ask yourself, well, would I want to work with me? If the positions were flipped, would I be as impressed or as inspired as I want this person to be with the organization that I were interviewing at? Ask yourself that. And you might want to ask yourself that on a day where you're feeling fairly robust, because the answer might not necessarily be favorable. If you want to be brutally honest with yourself, the answer should never be, hell yes, of course, because well, that's awesome. The answer is, well, I hope so, but here are some things that I think I personally could improve on, or my organization should be able to improve on. You need to address the non-performers kindly, considerately, compassionately, but you need to address them, and you need to be seen to address them so that the amazing people on the team understand that there are standards and people will be held to account. You have to invest. And if you think you've done enough, go the extra mile. Always go that extra mile. We always need to be looking for feedback, both from our professional peers, from friends, colleagues, whoever. And obviously we're going to weight that feedback according to where it came from, its provenance. the experience level and the wisdom level of the person or people giving it, and so on. We should always be seeking that feedback. If nobody is giving us unsolicited feedback, and it could just be, hey, that was amazing, thank you very much. Or it could be, hey, yeah, that was pretty good. Would you accept some constructive feedback on that? Right? But if we're getting no feedback, ask why. Because my guess is, especially if you're in a position of authority or your company, and there's always a huge power imbalance between an organization and an individual, if people are afraid, they go quiet. Don't let them feel afraid. Let them feel safe. That means they're going to grumble some more. Embrace that. Get them to help. Tell the stories. Whatever you do, whatever you learn, don't just say, I learned X. You say, hey, that thing that you're about to do, is really stupid. Hey, that thing that you're about to do, let me tell you a story about when I did something really similar and it went horribly, catastrophically, hilariously wrong. Because that goes from saying, I am the font of all wisdom, to, hey, let me bring you along on the journey with me. And maybe then you can acquire some wisdom from looking at my scars and seeing that story. Tell the stories. Be excellent to each other. Thanks all. We have a few minutes for questions, and my voice has actually held out. So if anybody has them, now would be the time.
Given that excellent people tend to be very reliant, and the proliferation of organisational culture being less perfect, they're going to be increasingly self-reliant. How would you stitch, say, a group of role models together into a wolf pack? How would you break down the silos of, I just need to care about me because eventually everyone's going to suck? And then just trying to create a culture and engagement where people want to stay.
That's actually a really good question. Did everyone hear the question? Okay, so, sorry. So the question was, if you have a whole bunch of great people who are individually great, but relatively speaking, have a set of individual lone wolves, how do you actually stitch them together into a wolf pack? That's a really good question. What I would bring it back to is a shared mission. If those people believe in, I will turn up and I will get my stuff done, and I get a lot of you, that's a great mission, right? But if those people believe in, we are going to turn up and we are going to change the world. Hey, it doesn't matter that my half of the rocket didn't explode. I'm fine, right? We didn't get to Mars. We didn't get even to the moon if the rocket blows up halfway. Imagine Felix Baumgartner, right, in Red Bull. Imagine it going up there. The people who sorted out the getting up bit didn't care about the getting down bit. Again, this mission is not going to go well. So it's a really good question. You need to find people who believe in what you're trying to do, and then you need to help them understand that other people also have that same shared goal. Then you need to get out of their road. And that doesn't mean just personally get out of their road. That means remove the impediments from having them being a collaborative team. If they're not co-located, see if you can co-locate them. If they don't have Slack or instant messaging tool of choice. If anybody still use HipChat? We're not on Atlassian in town? Okay. Give them the tools they need to collaborate. Give them the tools to develop trust in each other. That means things like CI pipelines, CD pipelines, make sure that we've got good regression suites, but it also means things like consistent chains of reporting, consistent levels of accountability. Celebrate the successes. Get people into the habit of saying thank you to each other. I tend to set that as a challenge to people quite a lot. Your mission for today is not to say thank you to someone else. I don't expect you to do that anyway. Your mission for today is to get someone else to say thank you to yet another person. Just get them to appreciate what effort someone else in the organization has gone. It's surprisingly hard. But you start with setting the example yourself. Thank you. Thanks, for instance, to the organizers of the conference. You've done a great job. It's not hard to say thank you, but it's incredibly difficult to get people into the habit of saying thank you. The flip side of that is when you screw up, sorry, all my fault. I made that mistake. And then you set the example of, you know what, I made that mistake. I didn't get fired. Maybe it's okay for other people to admit that they made a mistake too. And then we don't crucify them for making that mistake. And that then builds your sense of team culture, your sense of shared responsibility, which then in turn means that when a team member does let the team down, rather than going through formal processes like, what was that? And they go, yeah, I'm sorry. Sorry, everyone. Yeah, okay, cool, no worries. And that's the end of it. Okay, that's what you have when you have a high-performance, amazing team. You have people who understand and who truly believe that everyone else on the team has that same shared mission and the same degree, plus or minus not very much, of competence, and that they're actually going to be successful together. Does that answer the question, at least in a roundabout manner?
I have the problem with not having co-located teams. Consulting companies, some people there, and then trying to stitch them together into companies.
So for the audience and for the camera, so the particular problem in this case is exacerbated by the lack of co-location. I would say one thing to you there, compared to the cost of a failed project, flights are really cheap. Flights are bus fares. Get people on a plane, get them to talk to each other, get them to meet each other, get them to like each other. Just get them to hang out. Who's coming to the after party? Good. Meet people you haven't spoken to before. Go and say hi. Go and introduce yourself to someone. Don't be creepy about it. But no, seriously, don't be creepy about it. There is actually a code of conduct, which the organisers also needed for that. But be good to people, meet people. You will like them. You will then go away, and you will encounter them in 2, 3, 5, 10 years' time. You go, oh, I remember that person. They were nice. And I'm favourably disposed towards that person. Okay? Lather, rinse, repeat. It costs you $200 to $500 a pop for flights. It's cheap as. I think we're out of time for questions, but thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Enjoy the rest of the conference.